He started his professional journey at Proplan Engineering Limited as a site engineer before moving to Beton BAU Nigeria Limited, where he oversaw major electrical construction projects. After that, he joined the NEPA, National Electric Power Authority, at the Jeba Hydropower Station, where he started his lifelong commitment to Nigeria's power sector. Like I said, his profile is quite extensive, so I will just focus on what he's done recently at the Transmission Power Company of Nigeria, where he has served in progressive senior roles, including as station supervisor for Katankwe Area Control Supervisor, Regional Operations Manager, and now, as I mentioned earlier, the Assistant General Manager in charge of research coordination at the National Independent System Operator headquarters. In this role, he leads research and innovation programs, engages stakeholders, validates power system studies, and integrates global trends into Nigeria's grid modernization strategy. And throughout his career, he has chaired and contributed to numerous technical and regulatory committees, including investigations into system disturbances, transformer failures, and compliance monitoring. He has also played key roles in concession assessments, grid dispatch reviews, and standard operating procedure development. He's a very sought-after facilitator, as you can see from him coming here to present, and he has trained lots of upcoming engineers at TCN. He has also published several technical and management papers, including works on prepaid metering systems, voltage, volt ampere reactive challenges, and system operations in Nigeria. And his thought leadership has been recognized internationally with participation in several beneficial programs and trainings in South Korea, Ghana, Egypt, and China. And these contributions have earned him multiple awards and recognition, such as the Engineering Excellence and Leadership Award in 2022, the NSE Ambassador and Mentorship Award in 2023, and as I mentioned earlier, he's a fellow of the Nigerian Society of Engineers. He's also a fellow of the Nigerian Institute of Power Engineers, as well as a fellow of the Institute of Corporate Administration of Nigeria. Now to the not so serious stuff. Away from his professional life, he's passionate about mentoring, he's passionate about research and innovation in power systems, and he enjoys table tennis, reading, and dancing, and committed to inspiring the next generation of engineers who will shape Nigeria's energy future. So, gentlemen and ladies, please join me as we welcome Engineer Ojo Thomas Oladeji as he takes the podium. Thank you, Engineer, for joining us. The floor is yours. Thank you.
So I'll stop
Thank you
sharing now,
very
then you
much,
can share
Engineer
your screen.
Kelechi. Okay. Thank you very much, Engineer Kelechi.
Thank you,
And I
sir.
want to thank Engineer Shagun, the Grand Chairman, for the privilege he has given unto me to be one of the presenters this year on this platform and to discuss a very important topic, which we consider the disease we are trying to surmount thus far. I want to thank God for giving us a little bit victory on it, because throughout this year, we have never had any system collapse. I want to thank the leadership of NISU, in person of Abdul Mohammed Bello with his entourage, Engineer Abba Shehu, Engineer Nafisat Ali, Engineer Eji, and Engineer Eberunke, working tirelessly to see that we're able to sustain this to the end of the year without any system collapse. As you will agree with me, this is a great disease that we are trying to tackle, and God on our side will be able to surmount it completely by the special grace of God. And I want to seize this opportunity to thank the crew of National Control Center. They are doing a great job right now in sustaining the grid, despite what we have at present. And as we look at this topic, I will just open it up. We are going to discuss it together by the grace of God as we are going to present the topic. So the topic is Nigerian national grid failure, system collapse, causes, challenges, and the way forward. The content of this presentation is we'll be looking at the introduction. We'll be looking at the gas production and distributions, because if you have to solve a problem, you have to go deep to the root. We'll be looking at gas supply to Nigerian power sector. Then we'll look at generation capacity. We'll look at transmission company. We'll look at transmission capacity. We'll look at distribution capacity. Then we'll now go into the system collapse, the causes of this system collapse, challenges facing the power sector, impact of grid failure, and the way forward. Then conclusion. Introduction. Nigerian national power grid suffers frequent system collapse, causing widespread blackout that negatively impact home, business, and our national GDP. Each system collapse, I want you to believe, that created direct output losses, which affect factories, businesses, and services. An indirect cost, generator fuel equipment damage, reduce investment confidence. Together, these factors lower productivities and produce Nigeria annual GDP growth significantly. Despite vast energy resources, directly supply remains unreliable, with over 43%, about 85 million of the population lacking access to grid-connected power. The sources from World Bank, they made us to understand that those that are off-grid and those that are connected are about 61%. I mean, about 61% connected. But about 43% of the population we have now does not have access to the grid power. They are not connected at all. Now, power outages contribute significantly to economic losses. Each 1% increase in outage hours can reduce GDP by up to 2.86%, with generator fuel costs exceeding 23 billion annually. Heavy reliance of petroleum and weak infrastructure limit energy reliability and growth. These presentations examine the root cause, challenges, and the way forward. Now, in 2024, Nigeria produces approximately 2.511 trillion cubic feet of gas. This averaged to about 6.862 billion standard cubic feet per day. Distribution broken down, according to the 2024 figures, export sales is about 39.5% of total gas produced was exported. Domestic sales, approximately 28.7% went into domestic commercial uses. Gas reinjections used for reservoir and pressure maintenance. And when I mean gas injection, I mean gas that are produced naturally. They are pumped back onto underground reservoir instead of flaring. It is commonly done in the oil and gas industry for three main reasons: pressure maintenance and enhancement of recovery, storage, and future uses. Gas lifts employed for artificial lifts in oil wells is about 4.8%. That lift is an artificial lift method used in the oil and gas industry to help bring crude oil to the surface when the natural pressure is in the reservoir is no longer strong enough to push it on its own. Gas flaring. Waste gas flaring amounts to around 7.6%, which is a very, very, very large amount of gas that we are wasting. Domestic gas demand versus actual supply. According to the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, Nigeria requires approximately 2.324 billion standard cubic feet per day of gas specifically for power generation to generate about 5,000 megawatts. When I say 5,000 megawatts, that is the thermal capacity. If we want to have optimal power generation, at least we must have about 5,000 megawatts. However, reports from leadership and other sources show that actual gas delivered to power plant is much lower, only about 820 MMSC FD, which is equivalent to 0.82 BSC FD. That translates to under 30 of the required volume. This shortfall severely limits Nigeria's ability to meet its power generation, potentially which contributes to persistent instability and low utilization. Now, to reliably generate 5,000 megawatts of power in Nigeria, as estimated by NMDPRA, the required gas supply is 2.324 BSF per day, which is significantly higher than the theoretical estimate of 1.3 BSCF. This is because real-world infrastructure realities and operational challenges drive up gas demand beyond ideal calculation. I bring this forth to be able to make you understand, to most of us that are in transmission company, that the gas company they equally struggle with losses along their transmission, gas transmission. Just as you are struggling to bring down losses on the grid, they are equally working very hard to bring their losses down so that they can make optimal profits. And factors that are, contributing to this in gas sector is low efficiency, which is about plus 30 to 60 more than gas require. Pipeline losses is about 5 to 10% more gas. That is, you need about 5 to 10% more gases. Then startup and cycling, that is ram up and ram down of machines, requires additional gas for non-productive uses. Then the one they use for auxiliary load, you have 5 to 10% from the gross output. Unused capacity readiness, there should be increase in gas allocation. Then poor grid reliability, higher operational losses. Now, this is our generation capacity. Our present installed generation capacity is about 14,488.40 megawatt, which is grid connected. This source is from NCC. We have been carrying out approximation 13.500, 13,000 megawatt. But as at 2024 studies, we have 14,484.48 megawatts installed capacity. Then we have peak availability generation ever recorded. That is about 7,851 megawatts on April 14, 2014. For the betterment of this lecture, and for you to see the significant improvement we have achieved, I am using first quarter of 2025 as an example in my presentation. So, highest daily peak generation evacuated, we have 5,801.84 megawatts, which was obtained on March 14, 2025. Average on first quarter 2025 daily generation, we have 4,770.57 megawatt from NEC office. Availability operational generation capacity, about 5,366.88 megawatts. which is approximately 32 plant availability factor in Q1 2025. Generation mix, we have 82%, 11,766 megawatt gas, and 18%, which is equivalent to 2,718.40 megawatt hydro. Now, generation capability and availability of power stations. These are capacity of all generating plants we have in the grid. And you can see their total megawatts. This is as of 2024, January to December studies. Now you can see the availability factor, and you can see the actual average, and you can see the installed capacity of all the the generating stations. Now, looking at 2024, you discover that the plant available factor is a critical parameter for evaluating the overall health of the upstream segment of the NESE. In 2024, the overall availability factor for all grid-connected power plant was 32. This indicates that more than 68% of the installed capacity of grid-connected power plants in NESE was not available. The low overall availability factors of the power plant in the NESE is a major reason why there are limited energy flow on the national grid. Now, transmission capacity. This is shown on the our map. We have wheeling capacity of our network. It is approximately 8,000 megawatts via TCN infrastructure. The current operational evacuation limits approximately 5,000 to 5,800 megawatts, constrained by aging infrastructure and grid instability. Network size, approximately 9,504 kilometers of 330 kV lines and 8,558 kilometers of 132 kV lines with 34 216 MVA transformer capacity, 47 numbers of 330 kV substations, and 158 number 132 kV substation as of first quarter 2025. This is gotten from the System Planning Department of NISU. Losses. MIEEE targets 7% technical losses, but loss at first quarter 2025 is 9%. And that is why the transmission company have been groaning to bring it down, because they bear the causes of the 2% that is above 7% of MIEEE allocation. Now, grid performances. Grid performances. You can see how we fare in the first quarters. We have statutory limits from grid code, which is 50, normal frequency is supposed to be 50 hertz. Our operational limit is supposed to be 50 to 25 hertz, 49 to 75 hertz. But this is daily average recorded in first quarter of 2025. 50.77, which is about 1% increase, 49.21 at the lower limit, and 28 at the lower minute, 1% increases. Then we have emergency operation, which is about 48.75, lower limits, and you have the upper limit to be 51.25. And this is supposed to happen within short time so that you can do all you can do to bring back the frequency to normal. We have the grid voltage upper and lower limits, which is 346.50 kV, and you have 313.50 kV. Our daily average recorded in first quarter was 348.87. And minimum is 3014. I was able to bring top 10 high voltage nodes in the country. Just pick a reading of one day. You can see Jeba has 356. Brini Kebi has 345. And where there is 356, we only have one reactor in service. At that particular moment, we have two reactors. One is out. We have Gomo 353. It has no reactor. Onisha 351, one reactor in services. Sapele TS, you have 350. And Lokoja, you have 340, one reactor in service. Ajaokuta 348. Lafia TS has 347. Ayede TS has 346. Then Just TS have 345. Now you discover that this high voltage that we are recording has to do with geographical location, which I will explain later on, and has to do with the level of the load in a particular zone. When you look and observe at all these nodes, it is very critical for us. Like in Jeba, we have about two system collapse last year there as a result of high voltage. And it's a very critical thing that we need to look into in order to bring our voltage to normal. Then this is distribution capacity. I was able to bring our load allocation based on forecast generation, just to show you example of how load is being shared between GenCos, and to show you load exempted. Load exempted has to do with our bilateral agreements we had with other companies. It has to do with our losses. It has to do with spinning reserves. And you can see that we don't have spinning reserve at all, which creates more problem in running the grid. That's why I was telling you that we need to thank our crew in NCC. They are doing a good job when they run into emergency. The network extent is about 48,780 kilometers of distribution lines, 11 kV and 33 kV, serving over 13.7 million customers as at 2004 historical data from PHCN and JICA. We don't have the real extent of their network length as at hand. The losses is, in first quarter, a total of 39.61% ATC and C losses was recorded. 18.87 technical and commercial is 25.61 collection losses. Meanwhile, the micro target is 54%. Distribution reach, only about 1/3 of installed generation is successfully distributed. Much of the population relies on diesel generator or off-grid mini-grid. Now, this is the summary of movement of our megawatts from transmission to distribution. We have installed capacity 4.4 gigawatts. We have daily running in first quarter of 2025 to be 4.77 gigawatts. We have capacity losses of about 8.7 gigawatts, which is about 66.9%. Now, 7% of the generated is the transmission losses, which is about 0.33 gigawatts. 4.44 gigawatts was transmitted. About 0.79 gigawatts, 18% of generated losses, distribution losses. Then you discover that 3.65 is what got to the distributions. Now you look at the distributed capacity according to the stress they carried out, recent stress, distribution stress they carried out. They have capacity of taking about 8 gigawatts. Then transmission has capacity of transmitting about 8 gigawatts too. Continue. Now, let us now face the topic where we are going. I've given you the background of our power system. System collapse. System collapse is a condition where transmission system is unable to deliver electricity to end users due to the inability to maintain frequency and voltage within operational limits, resulting in total blackout or significant losses of supply in parts of the system. This is the NEC definitions of our own system collapse. It is typically caused by a disturbances or imbalance between electricity generation and consumption, leading to rotor angle instability, frequency instability, and voltage instability. Now, these are three core aspects of power system stability, and it is very, very important to take note of it. We have the rotor angle, we have the frequency, we have the voltage. The rotor angle has to do with transient and small disturbances. Transient has to do with loss of generator, loss of line. When a line carrying a heavy load trips, it creates a very high transient in the system. Sometimes we can manage it and bring the system back to normal. Sometimes it can lead to system instability. The frequency and voltage can be managed and bring back easily. But I want us to know that all the three types of instability are interconnected. A failure in one often triggers issues in the others, potentially leading to a system collapse. Main causes of instability. Just as I have explained, you have main cause of rotor angle, loss of synchronicity among generators, consequences, power swing, generator trip, linked to system collapse, cascading failure, partial and total blackout. Frequency, you have imbalance in generation and load. You have over or under frequency system trips or load shedding fail. It leads to system-wide outage. Then voltage, inadequate reactive power support, voltage drop, equipment tripping, voltage collapse, local or wide blackout. Now, type of system disturbances, we have partial system collapse, you have total system collapse. You have partial system collapse. A partial system collapse occurs when only one section of region of the power grid fails, while others remain operational. Total system collapse. A total system collapse means the entire power grid shuts down, leading to a nationwide of large-scale blackout, all power generation and transmission halt. You can see the history of system collapse over the years, right from 2010 to 2014, and you can see the reduction up to the place we are. In 2014, 2024, we have 9. 4 partials and 5, 4 total and 5 partial. Now, I want us to look at the reduction in the rate of system collapse from 2018 and look at what really happened. Reduction from 2018 up to 2024, you discover that the reduction in the rate of system collapse in power system from 2019 to 2025 has been due to a mix of operational improvement, infrastructure upgrade, regulatory reform, and grid discipline. While collapses still occur, the trend shows a decline in frequency and severity especially compared to pre-2019 levels. The reduction in system collapse is due to multi-prolonged approach, not a single fix. Number one, what leads to this is infrastructure upgrade through trend, operational improvement like installations of IoT and SCADA for more grid visibility. Period to that, you can, see that we don't have enough grid visibility. And it is difficult for you to control grid when you don't know what is happening. And that is how we have been managing. It only covers where a substantial place where the SCADA reach. When you discover that we have to devise a means of seeing other grid paths by introducing IoT, which enable us to see a substantial part of the grid. Improve coordination and discipline among market players, regulatory enforcement by NEC and ISO, which is now NISO, enforcement of free government control, and however, full grid reliability still depends on completion of national SCADA fallout. Causes of system collapse. Gas supply issues. Gas constraint in Nigerian power sector stem from a combination of technical, commercial, infrastructure, regulatory, and security challenges. But there is something that is very, very important that I will stress on, and that is number 2, gas pressure. Gas pressure. Gas pressure to generating station in Nigeria has direct dangerous effects. Direct dangerous effects on the stability and reliability of the national power grid. Any drop in gas pressure immediately impacts in generation output, voltage control, and overall grid balance. Low pressure can happen due to drop in pipeline pressure, which is caused by poor compressors performance, shear gas infrastructure, vandalism or leakages, sudden demand, surge without fuel, ram off. Problem from gas constraint. It reduces generator output, effect, grid frequency dip, impact, augment demand, governor instability trips, force outages, damage to turbine, voltage and frequency fluctuation, poor power quality, risk of collapse, low gas pressure on grid, load shedding and blackout, unreliable supply to end users, emergency dispatch, operational strain on TCN, inefficiency. Number 2 causes is plant availability. When plant availability is low, inconsistent, it can severely impact the stability and reliability of power system. And problem from low power availability, that is low power availability factor, is insufficient generation. Effect on power system, frequency instability, it can cause potential collapse, overloading of online units, plant trips, cascaded failure. It can cause plant trip and cascaded failure. Low operating reserves, inability to respond to destitute. You can see, I told you that we don't have spinning reserve. When there is emergency, there is no load to fall back. Poor frequency and voltage control, grid instability and blackout risk. Difficulty in black starting and grid resynchronization, prolonged outage restoration. Transmission line constraint, that is another major cause. The transmission line constraint in Nigerian power system are a major bottleneck preventing generated electricity from reaching customer. This constraint results in load rejection, low dispatch efficiency, high transmission losses, and frequent grid collapse. These are limitations in the physical capacity, design, or operational flexibility of high voltage line, that's 330 kV and 132 kV, to carry and deliver required amount of electrical power from generating station to load center. One of the causes of transmission constraint is overloaded transmission corridor. Example is Benin-Onitsha line. The 330 kV Benin-Onitsha line is one of the busiest in the national grid. Due to poor redundancy and high load transfer to the southeast, the line often operates near above safe thermal limits, especially during peak demand, resulting in load shedding or curtailment of generation from nearby plants. e.g., Azura IPP to prevent line trip. Then you have limited capacity plants. Example is Gerebu Station, power station. Gerebu Jenko near Lokoja. Then you have single circuit and radial line design. Example is Yola axis. Some transmission line in northeastern Nigeria, just Gombe Yola, are radially single parts, no loop. Thank God for the new double circuit that is coming in from Mando to Jos, which is yet to be terminated. This will provide a loop for us, and this will bring a little stability to the grid. Then we have aging infrastructure and lack of maintenance. Example, Shiroro Kaduna line. Part of this line over 30 years old with aging insulator, sagging conductor, and poorly maintained tower. This line are prone to thermal sag, flash over, and trip during stops. Transmission losses are also higher on such outdated infrastructure. Insufficient transformer capacity at substation, e.g. Aloji transmitting station. Aloji NIPP power plant has the potential to supply over 1,000 megawatts. However, the substation has limited transformer capacity and poor interconnection with Aba and Owerri load center. This leads to frequent load rejection by the discos because the TCN can evacuate power from Aloji efficiently. The right of way and environmental challenges. Transmission projects are often delayed due to land disputes, illegal structure, and lines of forest encroachment. Impact of transmission line constraint. Plant generate power that cannot be evacuated. I have cited so many examples about them. You have aging line, non-transmission distances, overload, fault triggers by grid collapse and voltage fluctuation. Low voltage frequency deviation at load center due to weak transmission. Then you have vandalization. In January alone, you can see the vandalization that took place in Nigeria. About 8.8 billion was spent by the Nigerian government to repair this transmission tower vandalized across this country. And at any point in time, if a line is vandalized, it's called system instability. Sometimes it takes the grace of God to bring it back to normal. Sometimes we lose the system. Then commercial and payment issue, poor liquidity in the power sector. The entire value chain from GENCO to DISCO is plunged with payment shortfall. GENCO can't pay gas supplier regularly. To supplier are reluctant to supply gas. Non-cost effective electricity tariff. This leads to under recovery by DISCO, limiting their ability to pay for energy generated, which tackles black upstream, which trickles back to upstream to gas supplier. Lack of bankable gas supply agreements, GSAs, without secure payment structure, gas producer hesitate to commit supply to power plants. The official domestic gas price for power generation was formerly pegged at 2.42 per MBTU. The Nigerian midstream and downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority reversed this down to 2.13 MMBTU, effective from April 2025. GENCO buys at 2.70 to 290 MMBTU at open market, depending on supply constraint and contract times against 2.13 MBTU cap. This gap pricing disparity worsen power sector stream. There is a belief that the federal government subsidized power purchase, but in reality, that subsidy is not always available. This has contributed to over 4 trillion debt owned by GENCO. This has the commercial and payment issue as tabulated. As you can see, we have challenge consequences, government stakeholders respond. Now, government policies. Government policies have a direct profound impact on the stability and reliability of Nigerian power system because they influence how the entire electricity value chain is planned, regulated, and funded. Here are the breakdown of how government affects grid stability. Policy on electricity tariff pricing regulation, subsidy and market distortion policies, delay implementation of key power sectors law, centralized control and delays decentralization, security and infrastructure policy. Then challenges facing the power sector. Number one, chronic underinvestment in infrastructure, most especially distribution side. Government is trying very hard on transmission lines, on transmission sector, while distribution still have their equipment aging. Then regulatory and policies inconsistencies, lack of diversification, heavy reliance on gas power plants, limited integration of renewable energy, poor coordination between generation, transmission, and distribution, centralized grid system overstretched, aging and weak infrastructure, lack of smart technology monitoring, gas supply issues, and vandalism. Impact of the grid failure. A system collapse is not just electrical failure, it is cascaded into the economy. Nigerian GDP is driven by services, about 55%, agriculture, 25%, industry, 20%. All these three suffers when the grid collapse. Each national grid collapse costs Nigeria an estimated of $10 to $15 million per day in lost productivity, World Bank estimate for African economy. With over 200 collapses between 2010 to 2024, the cumulative loss run into billions of dollars. Nigerian GDP, which is about $472 billion in 2024, could grow 2 to 3% faster annually if stable electricity was guaranteed. With 10 to 15 collapses per year, Nigeria loses about 150 to 330 billion annually, which is equivalent to approximately 100 to $200 million, roughly 0.05% of GDP wiped out yearly from collapse alone. System collapse directly reduced Nigerian GDP by cutting industrial output, slowing services, raising SMEs costs, wasting agricultural output, and deterring investors. These are the impacts of grid failure, which is broken down according to the industry. You can see the effect, the share of GDP, the nature of the impact, estimated loss for collapse. Example of those people that suffer from those collapses are breakdown according to World Bank record. The way forward. Number one, decentralization. We need to promote mini-grid and embedded generation in rural areas. We need to reduce burden on national grid. We need to encourage energy independence and local control. We need to support rural electrification. Number two, renewable energy investment and integration. Leverage solar, wind, hydro, and biomass. Reduce over-dependence on thermal plants, government incentive, tax breaks, grants, and feed-in tariff. Align with global clean energy goals. Modernize transmission infrastructure. Upgrade transmission lines, substations, and transformer. Deploy SCADA and smart grid technology. Our grid is about 70% completion. I mean, SCADA, which they are working tirelessly to see that is fully taken. But we equally are working on IoT. IoT are being installed in key places now. They are going to install unit by unit IoT in generating stations. Apart from that, a research is going on how to use those data gotten from IoT to carry out predictive analysis in order to maintain grid stability. Then, enabling real-time fault detection and isolation, improve reliability, response time. Gas supply and thermal plant efficiency, secure consistent gas supply to generating plants, address pipeline vandalism, upgrade thermal plants for better output and fuel efficiency. About some months ago, I was in Egypt. We went to study how they were able to improve their megawatts. And one of the first steps they did was to convert their single cycle into combined cycle. And that improved their megawatts very well. We can equally carry out studies on those hours, single cycle that we have in country in order to increase our own megawatts. Then we should diversify gas delivery infrastructure. Then regulatory reform and private sector partnership. Empower NISO to enforce grid code and compliance. NISO is doing a great job now under the leadership of our amiable MD. You can see that a lot of, the rate of system collapse has reduced. A loss of sanity and discipline is being brought into the grid at this particular point in time. We are to checkmate. The checkmate is going on. Just of recent, there are trippings that needed to be investigated upon. An investigation is being carried out just to know what happened and to prevent the future occurrences. So NISO is doing a great job right now in trying to enforce grid code and compliance. Then encourage public-private partnership, PPP, improve tariff structure to attract investment, promote transparency, investors' confidence. Then capacity building. Capacity building is very, very important. And I want to thank the MD who has always been emphasizing on that. When he came in, he promises us that there will be many training. When you build capacity, your efficiency will be very high. Invest in technical training for engineers and operators, promote local innovation and research and development, develop technical institutions, focus on the power sector. Conclusion, Nigerian grid failure are a major barrier to development. Solving crisis requires a multifaceted long-term approach. With proper investments, reforms, and innovation, a stable power supply is achievable. Nigeria must act urgently and strategically for a reliable power future. Question and answer. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Engineer Thomas. This is quite an insightful presentation. It is, please, could we give a rousing virtual round of applause for that wonderful presentation, please? Thank you. This is really, really sobering. As you were going on, I just felt like, okay, this was, it's a lot, like you said, it's a multifaceted problem that will require a rather holistic approach. I don't think there's one single solution that might be able to address what's going on here. Thank you. I think I'm not sure. So this is a time to ask questions. I've seen a few virtual reactions, and I've seen a few. If you want to ask a question, please use the virtual symbol to raise your hand. I've seen a few hands up, and I'm also going to ask one or two questions. But I think since Engineer Anthony raised his hand, or yeah, I think he raised his hand first. So Anthony, can you unmute yourself? Please make it quick. Thank you.
Yes. First of all, I want to congratulate Engineer Ojo, the presenter, Engineer Ojo Thomas Oladeji, for a very wonderful presentation. For quite some time, I have been kind of disturbed by the country's level of energy supply And I think his paper, if well diagnosed, will bring us up on a better pedestrian. First of all, my question will be, one, I want him to highlight the area of security that has impacted greatly on this system collapse. Area of security. One, that's my first question. Then secondly, I want to ask that what is Nigeria's present capacity in terms of how many megawatts is Nigeria having as of today? And does he not think that there is need for us to increase our capacity? Because like he mentioned about, Egypt is having more than 11 terawatts of energy, power energy, right? And Egypt wants to be the first in African country. And Nigeria, from a study which I did in 2023, I discovered that Nigeria energy capacity was very low. And I recommended something. I recommended Nigeria using diverse energy sources, including nuclear energy, which can supply enormous energy capability for us to be able to exist. So I want him to highlight on these areas, explain the area of security that has impacted on this system collapse, and then to look at what is the merit and demerit of using nuclear power? Because I have a feeling that nuclear power is inexhaustible and is very enough for Nigeria to have. It will send us and make us to be one of the developed countries of the world. I looked at the systems of all the countries of the world.
Engineer Anthony, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but there are lots of hands up, please. If you could just summarize your question so that we'll give others opportunities to ask as well. Thank you.
2 or 3 questions. I think I'm okay with that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I did not.
Go on, Engineer.
Hello?
Yes, go on, please.
I could not hear him on very well on the other, but I can hear him talking about nuclear energy.
Let me if I remember correctly.
So let me just answer. Let me answer the ones on the nuclear energy.
Okay, right.
Yeah, each and every one of us need to agree about our maintenance culture. If we have what is on ground now, and we cannot carry out effective maintenance on it, you can't toy with nuclear isotopes at all. Where those things have been using, they are carefully, they are very careful and meticulous in maintaining those things. When you look at our own side here, sorry to say so, our maintenance culture may not cope with nuclear yet. That is number one. I'm not writing it down. I'm not making it or pulling it down. Number two, for security reasons, please. For safety reasons, the management of waste product of nuclear, are we sure we can handle them at this proper time? It's very, very important. Number three, we have bandits all around. The day a uranium, this thing will get into their hands, you know what they can do. There are so many studies going on about nuclear in Nigeria now. I have a brother who heads the research institute in Ibadan. He has been saying it anytime we meet, we normally discuss about it. It is not, we cannot remove it. I mean, you can see some countries are even going off it now. In a place where our grid is not stable, just system collapse alone can cause a lot of things in nuclear chain reactions in the reactor, in the power nuclear station. If we have a stable and robust grid system, yes, we can have it. Secondly, just as I told you, for safety reasons, for security reasons, I think we are not yet fully ripe for nuclear reactor right now.
Thank you very much. That's a very robust response to that question. The other aspects of Engineer Anthony's questions were what is the installed capacity as at today? And I think you've dealt with that in one of your slides where you mentioned the generation capacity.
Yeah, that
Yeah, I think it's in the slide. So I will, if Engineer Anthony, you probably missed that, but this session is being recorded. In the interest of time, the other question he asked was the impact of security on the national grid. I think your thoughts on security as it relates to national grid.
hello.
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you are talking about security on national grid.
Yes, that was the other part of his question.
Yeah, what TCN is working tirelessly to see how to secure the national grid. I see that they have invited so many contractors to see how they can be seeing grid visibly and how to curtail insecurity. I think they are working tirelessly on it. Then there are some remedial arrangements they made with the locals along the line in order to secure those grid. But I want to tell you that the way they attacked our tower today, you know that it is not ordinary. They use explosives to bring that tower down, and that requires government to wade in to provide security along those axes that those things are being used. And I think they are working tirelessly towards that. And you can see the amount of money the government spent on vandalization is quite enormous, about 8.8 billion in just a month.
Thank you.
So I want to say that the TCN are working tirelessly to see that our grid, our national grid is protected.
Okay.
Thank you
Okay.
very much, Engineer Thomas. There are questions in the chat. Please, if you can raise your hand to ask, you can also use the chat function. But I will ask Engineer Steve to ask your question, please. Steve Honora.
Thank you very much. Thank you, presenter, for this very insightful presentation. I have a couple of questions, so they're very simple, so I'll go straight to them. The first is that when you were discussing the capacities, you mentioned the generation capacity, you mentioned the transmission capacity, but when you got to distribution capacity, I'm not sure I captured it. You rather used load allocation.
Hello, I can't hear you again.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. So we can hear you. Engineer
Okay.
Thomas might be struggling
Hello?
with. Oh, can you hear me okay, Engineer Ojo?
I think Engineer Joe may be struggling with sound.
Yeah.
Is it possible, Engineer Kelechi, that you take down the questions and maybe you read them?
Yes, I'm actually doing that.
Okay, so can I go ahead?
Yes, please go ahead. I'll just try to summarize the question as best as I can.
Okay,
Go on, please.
so basically what I'm saying is that in coming up, because it's important that we know and match the capacities from the distribution to the generation. He didn't explicitly mention it. He rather used load allocation, which cannot give us a true picture of the standing of the distribution capacity. The second one is that much has been talked about SCADA. I would like to know the reach, SCADA reach now, whether they're still relying on a human factor to control their load, either to ramp up or to go down. Is SCADA 100%? Does SCADA now have 100% coverage of at least the generating stations, the transmission stations, and all of that? Then the third question, he talked about over-dependence on thermal. I would like him to give us alternatives and also what informs his suggestion. Is it that we don't have enough deposit that can support our generation, or is it because we are not able to harness what nature has given us? About talking about vandalism and all of that, those are what we are not able to do. Is it that we don't have enough deposit, or is there any the alternative? Basically, that's what I'm asking. And finally, he talked about when he was talking about PPP, he mentioned a tariff review. But in the presentation also, he mentioned high ATC and C loss with commercial aspect of the loss very high. Now, can that attract private investors? And if you increase the tariff, what of the are people going to be able to pay for this increase in tariff? So those are going to be looked at holistically before we can say, yeah, this is the best way to go. Let me limit my questions to those, but let me once again say that at least there's something to discuss. I mean, because all along we've not been getting any feedback from the operators for us to have an insight into what is going on and also have discussions that we can make around it. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you very much, Engineer Steve. I'm really glad you said that you wanted to leave it there because otherwise it would have turned to a master's dissertation or a PhD thesis. Engineer Ojo, I'm not sure how much of that you got, but if you can hear me, then
Yeah,
yeah.
I got the last questions. Can you
Okay.
briefly read the first one for me?
So the first one was on that you mentioned the load allocation for distribution, but you did not explicitly mention the distribution capacity, and you wanted to know
Yeah,
what
I mentioned,
yes.
I mentioned it that distribution, according to the recent distribution network stress they carried out, it was discovered that distribution can carry 8,000
Gigawatts.
megawatts.
Yes.
I mean gigawatts, 8
Yes.
gigawatts. Are you getting what I'm saying? So that with
Yes.
this current stress that has been they just concluded it not quite long ago, and it was discovered that their network can carry as much as 8 gig. So that
Okay.
is the current values we have from the transmission company.
Right. Okay.
Not sure it's very
I mean, distribution company,
sure,
sorry.
sir. Not sure, sir, that is very reliable because that's
What's the next question, please?
Yes. The next question was
Hello?
yes. Can you hear me? Chairman, can you hear me? Okay.
Hello?
Yes, I can
Yes.
hear you. I can hear you.
Yes.
Engineer Joe,
Engineer Ojo, can you hear me? Okay.
I think he's having audio issues.
Okay.
Where we can't take the question, we'll probably post it to him.
Yes. There are also a few questions in the chat that at least I would have loved to ask the question from Engineer Adeshola Oladeji because that question has been in the chat for a while. But I do hope that Engineer Thomas do get back online before the time we have almost out of time anyway. But that was yeah. I also couldn't get to ask my question, but that was really I'm really glad that this webinar is happening with the Nigerian Society of Engineers group. I can't think of any other group more qualified to have this very sobering seminar. And I can also think of any other group more eminently positioned to start addressing these problems. So the right place at the very right time. And I hope that everyone goes to bed this night thinking about where they might wade in coming.
Hello?
Yes. Engineer Joe, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Right, fantastic. I'm just going to quickly read out the remainder of the questions, and then you can take them in any order you want. There are lots of engagement in the chat, so if you can just quick answers. So the other question was mentioning SCADA, the reach of SCADA, and if the system is still relying on human operators to.
Hello?
Oh, okay.
I think Engineer Thomas. I think Engineer Thomas is really struggling for the audio. So we'll probably just compile. Engineer Thomas, I think your audio is breaking, so maybe that's why you're unable to reach. I think for the want of time, we might just probably compile all these questions and send it over to him.
Yes.
And apologies everyone who's asked the question. To be honest, we would have wanted him to exhaust all these questions and answer, but I think we've got some technical issues here. Engineer
Yes.
Thomas, can you hear us? All right, okay.
So, Engineer Lotun, I've seen your question in the chat. That would be the ones part of the question
Hello?
that we. Okay. Hi, Engineer Thomas. Can you hear us? Okay. If you can hear, if you can hear us, all we're saying is
I
that.
can hear you now. I can hear you now. I can hear you now.
Thank you. There are
Hello?
lots of questions, and if you're okay to take a few more questions, I will just summarize a few of them, and then those you
Okay.
can't answer here, we crave your indulgence that you would answer them offline, and then we can share them on our socials and on our website as well.
Okay.
Thank you. Chairman, what do you suggest? Ask a few more questions, and then we'll take the rest offline. Engineer Shegun. Okay. So the other questions from Engineer Honora were about SCADA and how much, I think you mentioned this during your presentation. If I remember, you said something about 70%.
Yes, I said it's about just let me just take that. I had that. SCADA is about 70% in completions now. They are integrating stations with SAS and RTU right now. Even though it doesn't cover substantial many places, but I told you that with IoT, we are doing a great job now. We can see substantial part of almost all the grid now. An effort is going on to install unit by unit IoTs to be able to see the conditions of every unit in the generating station. As I'm saying now, we are carrying out a research in how to use IoT. In fact, we have gone far. We want to describe it as our own technology. We are able to carry out feasibility, studies and on how to go about solving power stability problems and to carry out predictive analysis, even though we can't use it for control. And just as I say, I was in Egypt. Egypt just used their EMS and their governor control system to work. The operators are equally in control room, just as we have operators in our control rooms here. The reason they gave is that even despite their NICS network, the reason they gave is because of the nature of the security of the region.
Right.
So what works in Egypt can equally works here. Once it is finished, we can carry out EMS and governor control with the SCADA. The control may not be possible now because of the nature of our equipment. But if those two things are in place, I can assure you that the grid will attain some possible stability.
Fantastic. Thank you. I'm really happy that people are engaging.
Hello?
Engineer Joe, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Hello?
Hello, can you hear us okay?
Engineer Kenichi, if you can take one more question, just for the want of time.
Yes, I'm going to combine two questions in one, and they are coming from the chat. Sincere apologies, Engineer Hassan. I can see your hand up, but there are lots of questions that came in the chats before this. Engineer Joe, can you hear me okay? If I may proceed with two questions that just related that you can answer before you go, and then we can take the rest offline.
Yeah, I can do so.
All right, thank you. So one question, someone wants to know about the exact oversight functions of the National Independent System Operator, and if they operate through the three arms of generation, transmission, and distribution, or if they are only on the transmission side. And the other question is about the new government policy that gave state governments licenses to generate and transmit their own electricity. How does that affect the national grid? Thank you.
Let me start with the last questions.
Right.
You hear me when I was talking about the way forward. I talked about decentralization.
Yes.
And that is actually what has happened. Now, it will enable state government to look elsewhere to source for generation, which is what we expected them to be doing right now. There are other places we can diversify to get our energy. We have solar, and I want to say that God really bless us with sun intensity in Nigeria, from the south to the north, from the southwest to the north. Our sun intensity is quite remarkable. I was in Israel some times ago, and I see how they use solar to drive turbine. It can equally be done. If our state governors are focused, we can get there. I want to tell you that if each state governor can generate 50 megawatts in each state, it will go a long way. It will shock you that what Nasarawa State consume, as I'm talking now, doesn't pass more than 30 megawatts. You can imagine if you can give him, you can produce 50 megawatts. That will go a long way in grid. Yeah. So when you decentralize, it gives the grid to, it gives the opportunity to bring in more generating stations. Then, just as you have seen what is happening in Enugu and federal government, you can't avoid this teaching problem. The reason is that Enugu State is still receive supply from national grid. But if they will concentrate on generation rather than market control, because you can't control what you don't produce. So I think that will go a long way. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you remind me of the second one?
Yes, the second one was about the oversight functions. What's the functions of the NISO are? If they spread across generation, transmission, and distribution, or if they are only focusing on the transmission side.
NISO is a quasi-regulator.
Right.
It spread both across to distribution, transmission, and generations. As far as we are connected to the grid, they can enforce you. Just of recent, they just summoned Enugu State when they have crisis, because their crisis is affecting our markets. So they try to mediate to find a way out to see how they will go about it. So they heard from the mainstream, which is their supplier, and they heard from them, and they heard from the Enugu State Regulatory Authority. So these are the roles that NISO play. We are quasi-regulator, and it spans through generation, transmission, and generation.
Okay, thank you very much, Engineer Ojo. Fantastic webinar, highly lots of data there to go and digest. And sincere apologies to everyone who has asked questions. I wanted to again ask if it's okay, Engineer Joe, to compile the questions and send them to you. You can use whichever means to respond to them. You can do voice notes or record another a Zoom session, or just respond in writing. If that's okay, please. I'll be compiling the questions and we'll send them to you after the presentation.
No, you can compile it.
Thank you very much. Sincere appreciation. Okay, Chairman, over to you to say this.
Please, I have a question, please.
I'm afraid I also have a question. But,
I had a network issue, so that was why I was cut off.
Apologize. Apologies.
Engineer
Apologies. Christian. If you can put the question down, we actually push for time. We will compile it. Put your emails down, and we will send it to Engineer Ojo. Apologies. I know this is a critical subject with interest from everywhere, and we would have loved to take every question, but unfortunately, we are moving into our next meeting, so we won't be able to take them.
One last thing.
So thank you so much, Engineer Thomas, for your question. Before I go ahead with our vote of thanks, I don't know if you can see my screen. I just want to use this opportunity to let everyone know that our UK Engineering Conference 2026 will be happening in August 2026. The theme of that is going to be Engineering Innovations for National Impact. The date is 6th to the 8th of August 2026, and it's happening in Glasgow here. So keep an eye on our website, on our social media. We will keep providing information as much as they are available. It will be an opportunity to have you. It is the largest engineering gathering of Nigerian engineers in the UK, and it's a combination of engineers in the UK and engineers all around the world, Nigerian engineers and even other engineers of other nationalities. So please keep this date in mind. We'll provide more information. We would like to have all of you here, and we can discuss these solutions that we're discussing here physically there and fashion a way forward for our dear country. So thank you so much, Engineer Thomas, for your time that you have shared with us, for your knowledge that you have shared with us.
Thank you.
I also want to use this opportunity to thank all our fellow, all our members that are here, our past ESCOs, too numerous to mention, so apologies. Our fellows here, members of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, associates, and friends for finding time to join our webinar. We will now be transiting into our annual general meeting. We're happy to have you stay with us. And we're happy to have you attend our proceedings and see how we go finally. But Engineer Thomas, I don't know if you have one final word to say.
Hello.
Hello, go ahead. I don't know if you have any final word.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for the opportunity. And I want to thank you for the good job you are doing. We will continue to relate together to see how we will improve our grid stability. And don't forget to come home and invest. There are open opportunity in electricity, in power sector now. So togetherness, we can build a great nation by revitalizing our electricity sector. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, I wanted to say also that, sorry, Chairman, for jumping in. Thomas, there's lots of appreciation in the chat. I'm not sure if you've had a look at the messages. Everyone has been very much wowed by your presentation, and I think they speak for all of us. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. And one last thing, Engineer Thomas, I know you mentioned your visits to Egypt, talking about some efficient power thermal generating station. We will suggest and recommend one here in the UK, which is in the Guinness Book of Record for its efficiency as the highest efficient thermal power stations. It's located somewhere in England. It's called Kidby Power Station. And luckily, we have our immediate past chairman who works there. We would like to facilitate, either industry to industry or government to government collaborations. It is the most efficient gas turbine power station in the world, and it's recognized in the Guinness Book. So maybe that's a place you would like to visit with your organization to see how they're able to achieve such high efficiency. So thank you so much on behalf of Glasgow branch for your time.